Good morning. Today is the first day of the 30th day of Nisan, first day of Rosh Chodesh, Iyar, and the 8th of May. And we're looking at the fourth reading of Kedoshim. And the fourth reading of Kedoshim starts with what is probably the main issue in the world today. The main issue. Let's read the verses. We're looking at Leviticus 19, 33 and 34. So I'll read it with the commentary from Vishnevsky. When a convert dwells with you in your land, you must not taunt him by reminding him how he was originally an idolater or living an otherwise inferior type of life and has only recently accepted Judaism. Rather, the convert who dwells with you must be treated the same as a native from among you, and you must love him as you love yourself, for you were strangers in Egypt. And therefore he can easily taunt you back. He can easily taunt you back. And this ends with, I am Avaya, the God of you both. So this is the issue of converts. And what is a convert? So there's a lot to be said about this. Exactly what does it mean? Judaism started out as a family. It was Abraham, and he had a son Isaac, and he had a son Jacob. Jacob had 12 children, 13 children. He also had a daughter. And these 12 became 70 people that went down to Egypt, and they become 600,000. And there's one path of Judaism that is a family path. And this family path is very strong in Jewish life. Meaning that a lot of times the way that we look at each other, and I don't know of anywhere else, but it could be that it's my lack of knowledge, but I don't know that anywhere else 3,000 years ago people used to call each other brother. And this is very common in the Bible because there was this overriding feeling that we're one family. So that's one side of Judaism. There's another side of Judaism which is completely different, which is that Judaism is something that even this family had to convert into. Meaning, as much as the religion of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is the forerunner, the precursor to the religion that was founded, the covenant that was founded at Mount Sinai, they're not the same thing exactly. So on the one hand, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob performed these same commandments, but they didn't perform them as commandments. They performed them as natural lifestyle. This is how they wanted to live as people. But once this became, after the Exodus from Egypt, when they came to Mount Sinai and they received the Torah, this became a bond between God and man. So even those people who were of this family that had this as a lifestyle now had to go through a type of conversion. And so we say that the Israelites that left Egypt went through conversion. How did they go through conversion? Well, just before the Passover in Egypt, and from the 1st of Nisan until the 14th, which is the day on which they went out, the next morning on the 15th they left, everybody had to be circumcised. And you know that conversion for males involves circumcision. So everybody was circumcised. One might ask, how is it even possible that there were people that weren't circumcised? Well, there were. that needs a different discussion in and of itself, how it's even possible, but there were people who weren't circumcised. Then every convert has to go into a mikveh, has to immerse in a ritual bath. Well, the best ritual bath in the world is the ocean. And so we say that crossing the Red Sea was their immersion in the waters. Because remember, in the beginning, the waters didn't part. They had to actually go in, and then the waters parted. So they all underwent the ritual bath. They also brought sacrifices. And every convert has to bring a sacrifice. So in a sense, everybody, as much as being an Israelite, the progeny of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, makes you part of Judaism, still they had to undergo some kind of entering into the covenant. When they were standing at Mount Sinai, so the sacrifice that was brought by Moses for everyone at the same time, and then Moses squirted from the blood of that sacrifice on everyone. And that was coming into the covenant. That was like conversion. So that's what it means here, that you can't taunt, ridicule someone who is a convert, saying to him, oh, it's very nice, but you're not part of the family, really. You just came in. Because he can say the same thing. It doesn't matter that I'm not part of the family. You too, as part of the family, when you came out of Egypt, you had to go through the same process. So again, you feel that this is entitled to you. You're entitled to this from birth and so on. But really, you're not. So it's a very complex trick here, and it's very delicate, that a Jew has to feel on the one hand that this is entirely natural to me. This is how my family is. On the other hand, I'm also encouraged to feel that no, I need to convert, as it were. I needed to convert. Even the people that were in the family had to convert in a certain sense. It's not a native entitlement that I have. There was a period of time when some of the opposition against Chabad, against Lubavitch, brought out that someone said, this very important person said, that Chabad is the closest thing to Judaism. What he meant to say was that there's Judaism, and Chabad is like an outside sect that is as close as you can come. So, obviously people got very upset, and how can you say something like that? But Rav Ginsburg, when he heard this, he said, he's right. Because Judaism is an ideal that nobody's yet reached. The closest thing to it is Chabad. The closest you can reach to this ideal is Chabad. And then you can turn this around. But again, it's the same idea here. In a certain sense, we're all Jewish, as it were, by birth. Everybody who's Jewish by birth. And yet, there's still an ideal that we're trying to approach. There's still an ideal that we're trying to achieve. And nowhere does this come out as more powerfully than in a relationship with someone who joined. And with someone who joined, my feeling has to be, you and I are in the same boat. We're both trying to attain this ideal. But, like I said, you can't ignore the familial side of Judaism. There is a family side to it. And like I said, I don't know of any other text from 3,000 years ago that people call each other brother. And they call each other brother in the Bible because that's literally what they are. They're brothers. So I'll tell a little story about this, and with this we'll end today. That Rav Steinsaltz, my teacher of blessed memory, he told me once of a special woman. She was a Dominican nun, and she was stationed in Jerusalem, and she was very learned, And she decided to convert to Judaism. And she knew him because she started coming to his classes. And after she made up her mind that this is what she's going to do, she asked for a private meeting with him. And she came to speak to him. She spoke with him for an hour or two. And at the end, Rav Steinsaltz told her, look, it's a no-brainer for you. Obviously, this is what you want. It's right for you, and so on. But you have one small failing. And I want you to promise me that before you go to the mikveh, before you actually immerse in the ritual bath and you finish your conversion, I want you to come to me one more time. And he said to her that the reason for this is that you're a very intellectual and smart person. And so you connect to Judaism from its intellectual side, from the fact that the truth can be seen. You don't have to search very high and low to see the difference between learning Torah and learning anything else in the world. Certainly when it comes to religions, but even when it comes to academics, a completely different level of learning. So you see it and you connect to it, and that's fine and it's good, but I want you to come see me before you immerse. And she, after a year, she had been studying and she passed the test, whatever it is, whatever they demanded from her, and she kept her word and she came. And then he took her, they left the office, he took her to the main street in the ultra-Orthodox part of Jerusalem. And he started introducing her to the beggars on this street. Some of them were men, some of them were women. We're talking about the lowest echelon of society. And he introduced her to them. He knew them by name. He knew them personally, because he was a very people person. So everybody knew him, and he knew everybody. And when they finished, and he had introduced her, and she had to spend some time talking to these people, he said, "The reason I took you here is because I want you to understand you're going to keep the commandments because you have a real relationship with God. That's not difficult for you. That's easy for you. But I want you to understand that when you enter into Judaism, you're also entering into a family. And in this family, there are many brothers and sisters that you're not overly happy with. You don't take pride in them. They embarrass you even. You don't agree with them. You don't like the way they live. You don't like how they talk. You don't know how they are. But they're still part of your family. And when you convert, that's part of what you have to do when it comes to loving your fellow as you love yourself. You have to treat each one of these people as if they're your brother and sister. Now, can you really do that or not is a different question, but you have to have that in mind. You have to understand that those are two different aspects of entering into the covenant with God. It's, on the one hand, a covenant that's direct with God, and it goes through the Torah, and it goes through the commandments, but it's also a covenant that is familial. It is also entering into a family. And when you enter into a family, there is this solidarity that you need to have with others, and love and respect and so on, even if you're very embarrassed in what they do. And by the way, that is like I said, I think that this is the core of everything that we're struggling with today in the world. That society is torn and at odds, people are at odds with each other because this feeling is missing. So maybe you have to go back to Adam to feel part of a single family. Of course, if science took away your Adam, and you don't feel that all of humanity came from one person, from one couple, then that's going to be very difficult to come to. Maybe there's other ways of teaching this to people. But you have to have this feeling that despite all our differences, despite everything that we're arguing about and so on, if there is a feeling of being part of the same family, then we can live together. then we can find a way to actually live in peace and cooperate and take the world to the next stage. Thanks for joining today. Hope to see you tomorrow. All the best.